Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a colossal timeline over 5,000 years of Chinese history. To really grasp modern China, you've got to understand how this history breathes. It expands, it contracts, and goes through these profound repeating cycles of fracture and unification. So let's uncover this incredible story together.
To make sense of this massive timeline, we've structured this explainer into 6 distinct eras: myth to early empires, golden ages and Mongol rule, isolation and foreign influence, World War and Civil War, the rise of modern China, and finally, the Hong Kong anomaly.
Starting off with Section 1, Myth to Early Empires.
We begin at the Yellow River. It's a place absolutely steeped in legends. Stories of half-dragon spirits creating humanity, and Yu the Great supposedly spending 13 years taming floods to found the Shang Dynasty. But, as author John Green once joked, "Dear Shang Dynasty, why you gotta be so fictional?" While the Shang are widely considered mythological, they did inspire an incredible pictograph writing system. It actually wasn't until King Tang won the storm-swept Battle of Ming that the Shang Dynasty established the very first historically verified state.
Following the Shang, we get the Zhou dynasty and their quasi-feudal system. But, as we'll see happens a lot, that system fractured, plunging the region into the chaotic spring and autumn and warring states periods. The warring was so intense that rival kings literally built compacted earth walls on their borders just to keep each other out. This chaos finally ended in 221 BC when the Qing Dynasty unified China. They standardized laws, and Emperor Qin Shi Huang used slave labor to connect those old border walls, laying the very first foundations of the Great Wall. But, in a tragic twist of irony, the emperor was so terrified of death that he drank a supposed immortality potion, which fatally poisoned him. His death immediately threw the newly unified state right back into civil war.
Which brings us to Section 2, Golden Ages and Mongol Rule.
Emerging victorious from that civil war, the Han Dynasty ushered in an undeniable golden age. We're talking the invention of paper, the opening of the lucrative Silk Road, and the arrival of Buddhism. Aside from a super brief 13-year interruption in the year 9 by a bureaucrat attempting radical land distribution, this massive prosperity paved the way for the Sui and ultimately the mighty Tang Dynasty. The Tang introduced Fubing land reforms, which created an economic boom that funded a massive standing army, extending Chinese influence way out across Asia.
But prosperity often breeds regional rivalry, right? A fractured China, now split between the Song and Jin dynasties, was completely unprepared for Genghis Khan. He managed to unite squabbling nomadic herdsmen and used rapid horse-based lightning warfare to just overwhelm the divided states. By 1271, Kublai Khan established the Yuan dynasty. Yet their downfall came from within. Severe inflation from over-issued currency, combined with devastating natural earthquakes, convinced the public that heaven was demanding a revolt, and they definitely revolted.
Moving into Section 3, Isolation and Foreign Influence.
Now, this is really interesting. Notice the striking parallels between the Ming and the succeeding Qing dynasties. They basically shared the exact same fatal flaws that led to their downfalls. First, extreme isolationism. They slashed naval funding just to pour resources into the Great Wall. Second, terrible financial mismanagement, like restricting all foreign trade to a single port in Canton. And third, they disastrously ignored the rising threat of foreign maritime powers navigating their waters.
Let's look at how that isolationism backfired. In the 19th century, the British faced a massive trade imbalance. They were buying up highly prized Chinese tea and porcelain, but China only accepted silver in return. To correct this, the British started smuggling opium into Canton. When this caused a devastating addiction epidemic, Chinese officials aggressively destroyed the British opium and cut off the traders' food supplies. The response? The unmatched 19th century British Navy attacked. The British easily won the Opium War, forced Canton open, and officially took Hong Kong Island.
This shattering defeat triggered what's known as the Century of Humiliation. It was a profoundly painful era marked by devastating foreign intervention, unequal treaties, and incredibly violent internal conflicts like the Taiping and Boxer rebellions. The Qing imperial system simply couldn't withstand the pressure, and it totally collapsed in 1912.
Bringing us to Section 4, World War and Civil War.
The power vacuum left by the Qing created absolute chaos. Sun Yat-sen's republic briefly allied with the newly formed Communist Party to defeat regional warlords. But when Chiang Kai-shek purged the communists, it sparked a bitter civil war. The communists were saved only by Mao Zedong's grueling long march. But then, the infighting was brutally paused. In 1937, following a fabricated skirmish at the Marco Polo Bridge, Japan launched a full-scale invasion, dragging China into the total devastation of World War II.
The human cost of this invasion was staggering. When Nanking fell on December 13th, an estimated 300,000 civilians were murdered and raped by Japanese forces. It was an event so horrific that even the local Nazi ambassador actually served as a voice of reason, writing letters to try and save lives. It remains a deeply dark, deeply painful chapter entrenched in history.
Now, Section 5. The Rise of Modern China.
After Japan's defeat in 1945, the Chinese Civil War immediately started right back up. Aided by the Soviets, the Communists gained the upper hand, forcing the Republic to retreat to Taiwan. This allowed Mao Zedong to declare the People's Republic of China in 1949. To consolidate his power, Mao initiated highly controversial policies, most notably the Great Leap Forward, which resulted in massive fatal famines, and the Cultural Revolution's ruthless political purges.
Following Mao's death, the government pivoted to a mixed economy of socialism and capitalism. The growth was absolutely explosive. China rapidly industrialized into a billion-person manufacturing powerhouse that completely shapes our global economy today. Yet, they maintained strict state control. When calls for reform sparked the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests, the government violently suppressed the movement, making it clear they would not collapse like other socialist states. Today, while economically massive, China remains culturally isolated.
And finally, Section 6, the Hong Kong Anomaly.
The history of Hong Kong is wildly unique. Back in the 19th century, it was a pirate haven ruled by Madame Zheng's Red Flag Fleet. The British leased the new territories for 99 years in 1898. During World War II, it suffered a brutal 3-year Japanese occupation where 1 million people were deported. But its real turning point came in the 1950s. Wealthy mainland refugees poured in, and when a Korean War trade blockade hit, Hong Kong rapidly pivoted to finance and manufacturing. This sparked a massive boom, progressive reforms, and earned it the nickname the Pearl of the Orient.
This boom created a stark contrast. While mainland China had a centralized, mixed economy, Hong Kong thrived on an unregulated, self-governing capitalist model. But that 99-year British lease was ticking down. So as 1997 approached, the one country, two systems policy was negotiated. This ensured that for a 50-year handover period, Hong Kong would maintain its own currency, passports, and largely independent way of life.
Which brings us to today. Hong Kong functionally operates as a separate entity, but considering everything we've just covered, the repeating cycles of fracture, the strict control of the mainland, and this totally unique capitalist anomaly, our explainer leaves you with one of the most profound geopolitical cliffhangers of our time. The One Country, Two Systems agreement has a strict expiration date. So what exactly happens when that 50-year timer runs out in 2047?